confident too that
Yeah,
this
for
is
sure.
being recorded. And so it does get put on the website for folks to reference. So I think we're going to get started.
Cool.
All right. Well, good afternoon. Welcome. Welcome. It is November. Can we believe it? November is here. So I hope you're looking forward to a new month, you know, new opportunities, new blessings, new doors that are opening, and perhaps doors that are closing. So it's a good season. It's a good month. Hope everyone is doing well. Certainly here in Amiskwaci, Waskagan, Edmonton, where I'm joining from, you can feel the temperature change. You can feel the snow. You can feel it. The snow is coming. So we just want to take time, take a moment. I always think it's important just to press pause, take that deep breath, take a moment to honor, you know, this day that Creator has given to us. Honor this moment that we can gather together as a virtual community, to learn and to be inspired, to grow. And Cando is all about capacity building. So building the capacity that's already within us. So we give thanks for this opportunity, this moment. And I say, hi, Creator. Thank you for the gift of this day, the gift of this moment. And all of the gifts, you know, you don't have to look too far around you to see all of the gifts that the Creator has given to us. The gift of land, the gift of sacred waters, the gift of, you know, the animals, the cute rabbits outside my home. There's so many gifts that are around. Sometimes we just gotta press pause and stop and take in that view and appreciate all that's around us. So we never walk alone. So you've joined Cando Links to Learning. We're here on Tuesdays afternoon. We're honored that you've decided to join us, or maybe you're watching this in the video. So we're honored that you're accessing this amazing resource. I'm excited to hear the presentation, hear the story from today's guest speaker. Also, just to make an announcement, I feel like I don't make this announcement too often, but there will be an evaluation link sent to you after today's presentation, and we really honor all of your feedback. So please fill that out. And then, of course, your name gets entered to win a draw at the end of the month. I believe it's a $500 Visa gift card, just for you to lend your voice, to give your feedback about the presentations, the webinars that are being hosted here. So get your evaluation in, get your name into that draw. All right, so there will be also opportunity at the end, but I believe this is gonna be interactive. Like this is gonna be an open conversation that's happening today. So you're welcome, you belong here, your questions, even your comments are important to all of us. All right, so today we're highlighting individual private sector business economic development, particularly the Walker Home Construction. So Les Walker is the owner and founder of Walker Homes Construction. Les is a passionate volunteer and believes in cultivating reciprocity in our communities. That is amazing. That's inspiring. I love that. So we're highlighting the winner. Let me say that again, the winner of the Cando Individual Private Sector Business Economic Development Award. Woohoo! So congratulations, Walker Home Construction. So this recipient, so Les was recognized at the Cando Conference for their commitment and dedication to increase the standards of living and prosperity in Indigenous communities. So Yukon's Les Walker will speak to his accomplishments and share his story. We love hearing stories around here of how he put his music career on hold to operate a successful residential and commercial construction business. Well, that's admirable right there. So thank you for being here, Les. Your time is valuable, so we honor that you were able to come and share and present and lend us your voice and story. So I'm going to pass this mic off to you. So welcome, welcome.
Thanks, Michelle. I appreciate it. That's a pretty amazing introduction you gave me. And it's funny, they keep saying that I put my music career on hold. But, for me, it's the fundamental value that I have is family. And I got into running a company because I wanted to be a more active a father in my children's life, and I didn't want to have to compromise that because I was working in the construction industry. Like when I was younger, working in the construction industry as a single parent, if my son was sick or my daughter was sick, I would get judged, and I would get treated like I was a second class person because I didn't show up to work on Monday because my child was sick. And then when you show up to work, everybody's mad at you, and I'm like, this is a value of mine, and I don't think that I should have to sacrifice that value just to go to work. So I was right at the end of my third year, so I was ready to go to be a journeyman. And so after I completed my journeymanship, I just decided, okay, I'm going to take a risk, and I'm going to try to create something for myself that allows me to be more engaged in my children's life without judgment, and being treated differently for it. And there's a lot of trials and tribulations over the years. It's kind of like, when I got nominated for that award, for the Cando Economic Developer Award, it kind of got me that they were like, you have to do a presentation, and we want you to talk about your life and how you got to this point. And when I was going through my life and experiencing things, it felt like it was kind of, you know, it was kind of like not disorganized, but it wasn't congruently happening in some sort of like, directional way. It was like, I'm doing this to survive. I'm doing this to provide myself with this. And then another opportunity came. But going through my life and looking at where I came from to look at where we are now, like, it almost looks like it was a straight line. Like all those zigs and zags that I was taking are pretty intentional to create where I am right now and the opportunities that I am that I'm in. And so, just to give you everybody here a little bit of a background, um, like what I started this company. I was just the only employee. I would just do small contracts, and eventually I started getting a name so I could take on bigger contracts. And then eventually I started to have to hire employees, and then all I said was, well, I'm going to give them the same thing that I'm giving myself, which is, if you have things going on in your life that are important, we can um, shift your work schedule so that you're able to maintain a life and the things that you value in life and be present in that, but also be complementary to still offering a service to the company. So, for instance, if somebody's son has a game, an early game, okay, we'll go see that game. Maybe we can work the weekend. Or, hey, my best friend's in town, just for one night. Well, why don't you take them out, and why don't we work Saturday? Right? Like, we can make it up, or maybe you won't make it up. Maybe you can't. But I want you to feel like you're appreciated, like we will honor your life and what you have. And then when you're at work, I'm going to push you as hard as I possibly can to continue to work more efficiently and grow and feel like you're bringing value to the company. So it's those relationships that build the foundation of what I've been able to create. And so, I try not to give too much advice to people about business. But I do think that there are some fundamental values that can dictate the success of what you're trying to do. And like for me, purpose is my main thing is purpose. Like, what is your purpose? Like, oh, I'm going to start this business. Well, why are you doing this? Like, because of, I don't know what your this is where you fill in the blank. What is everybody's purpose in pursuing whatever they're pursuing? And once you identify that, and then it kind of helps build some decisions that go beyond that. And I think that when you have a purpose, and it doesn't have to be, I want to save the world. It could just be, I want to feed my kids. That's my purpose. But the difference is that when you acknowledge that you have a purpose, and that you have that sort of driving force, it pulls you through to the hard times. So when things are hard, you're like, focus on what you're trying to do here, and remind yourself every day or whenever you need it to say, this is where I'm headed, right? It's kind of like a lighthouse. You have that purpose and you keep it in your mind, because there will be hard days and there will be days that you don't feel like doing things, and it's that really can pull you through and identify why it's worth going and pursuing that thing. I was actually reading the study the other day about, it's like 90% of the things in life fail. 90% of people fail at things in life because they don't have a purpose, and they don't continue to push through. So you might fail 9 times, but it was the 10th that you would have got through. If you give up at 9, you'll never get to 10. And I know that a lot of organizations, including government organizations like First Nation governments and government corporations, they base everything on policy and liability and strategic plans. And it's like, you don't want to plan to fail. I don't agree with that. You want to plan to succeed, but you don't want to be scared of failure, because failure is a step towards success. It's kind of one of those lofty things that sometimes people say, but at the end of the day, if you look at that, it's how we think about things will determine the outcome of what happens. So we're all going to have to go through these moments where we struggle, but it's how we think about that is going to determine the outcome. So a friend of mine told me a story about a gentleman who wanted to ski through the trees, right? He's just an older gentleman, always wanted to ski through the trees, but he always kept running into the trees. And so one day he was on the hill, and he runs into an Olympic gold medalist, or Olympic skier, and she says to him, "Oh, it's easy. Don't look at the trees. Look at your path." And it's like, it's so simple, but it's like, yes, there are going to be trees in our way, but what ends up happening is we focus so aggressively on the trees, and we get so fixated on the obstacles that we don't find the paths. For me, like, I don't waste too much time on obstacles. Somebody says, "Oh, hey, for instance, your crane, we have a crane, the front tire blew, it rolled on its side. Now it's basically in the shop and we're shut down." So, like, I could stress about that. I could start thinking, well, how can we solve? We got a roof, we have to lift it. How can we do this? Can I hire another crane? And I just strategize to say, okay, this is how we're going to get around it. We still have to fix the crane, but I'm able to achieve my outcomes because I'm not caught up in the fact that I'm going to have to maybe spend a lot of money to fix that, or it's going to be a long time before I can get that done. So it can be frustrating, and I think that we're habitual people, so we end up falling back into our old patterns a lot of the times. But so it's about cultivating those patterns on a consistent basis and reminding yourself with the purpose that you hold in the foreground of what you're trying to do. And so the so I think what is kind of congruent with purpose is grit, and I've already kind of talked about it. Grit is the thing that drives you, that says, okay, well, I'm going to get in the hole and shovel this, whatever. I'm going to shovel the shit for a while, and I'm going to do that. I'm not going to give up, and don't matter what anybody says to me, because I have purpose in front of me. I'm willing to go through the hard things and cultivate grit. It's not going to be amazing all the time. It's not going to be exciting all the time, but it's the grit that says that creates the determination to continue to go and to move forward. And I think that most of the time, in life, it's the people with grit that succeed. It's not the smartest people. Like, I've been in rooms with like masters and with bachelors, and like super educated in curriculum individuals, but they lacked a lot of common sense. And it's like, they're specialists in their field, but they're so tunnel vision that they don't have a good economic perspective of a landscape. And it's like, And we need people like that. I'm not saying, that's just not a judgment, but it was a realization to me at the time when I realized that. It's like, oh, you don't have to be a specialist. You don't have to be Albert Einstein to have value in any kind of economy. You just need common sense and a good work ethic and a solid purpose. And if you focus and you fixate on it, then you're going to be able to create it. You're going to be able to do things that people that are highly educated and highly specialized have no ability to do because they don't have that passion and the grit. So a lot of times too, a highly educated person will see all the obstacles and they kind of surface for them. But what about this? And what about this? Have you thought about this? And it's like, whoa, holy cow. Like, sure, we need to address those things in a way to move forward in those, but at the end of the day, it's we can't be fixated on them. It's almost like a non-starter for a lot of people. You know, there's opportunity here, but because of if you over intellectualize it, because of all the obstacles and you fixate on those things, it's like you don't even want to start. It's like you get into a house of a hoarder and it's like, where do you even start? You just start by doing one shirt at a time and one piece at a time, and then you get one room clean, and then you build on that success and you get to the next one. And that's what grit is. It's not looking and getting overwhelmed at the whole vastness of what you're trying to create. It's being able to pay attention to what you're doing in the moment and getting the value of it. You know, time is valuable. And a lot of people, you know, say to me that, well, I don't have the time to do this. But if we're honest with ourselves, we can we can be way more efficient with time, right? And we can learn how to achieve these things, and it just takes one step at a time, one habit at a time to correct. And then you end up seeing how much time you actually have. If somebody told me, you know, like I was a single dad and working, and if somebody told me that I would be getting done as much as I am today, I'd probably call them a liar. I would argue with them. I'd bet my life savings that I wouldn't be working this hard. But I am, because of that. When you cultivate that vision and you continue to go, you can surprise yourself of what you're able to achieve. And then you have the ambition to do the things. You have the energy to do that. And that's, like I said, that's your driving force. What I find a lot lately is that, you know, and I'm a pretty healthy person. Like I have a really strict routine for myself that I've developed over the years, right? So it keeps me so that I can focus on these things. And of course, I will say that I have more of a you know, an economic strategy opposed to a business strategy with my company. I'm thinking about community building, and I'm thinking about, you know, what I can cultivate and create that's going to affect past my lifetime, because that's where I find my values and that's where I find my purpose. But like I said, that doesn't, you know, I don't think everybody should have the grandiose purpose to dedicate your life to some other thing. I just think that, or to some, you know, like crazy thing, like you're going to change the government or you're going to run for prime minister. I mean, that is awesome. But at the end of the day, I think that if you pick something that's worth sacrificing for, because it's everything that you're going to do is going to be sacrifice. So I say this a lot to youth. It's like you have to pick something in life because there is sacrifice in life. So if you want to be an athlete, you're going to have to sacrifice, but you're going to sacrifice for something that you want. So if you know, if you want to be a dancer, it's like, well, your friends are going out, it's somebody's birthday, you're going to have to say no, right? I can't do that. It's your birthday, but you got a big show coming up in 2 weeks and you got to lose 5 pounds or something, right? So it's like, no, I can't do that. And so um, it's the same thing with business. Well, I want to, you know, I want to run my business and I'm a sole proprietor, and okay, so you're working your 8 to 10 hours a day. I think that's like a minimum. But then after that, that's on the job site. And then after that, you got to go home and do your books, and you got to do that for 2 or 3 hours sometimes a day, depending on how many employees you have and what day it is. And you got to bid on contracts, and you've got to make sure that your materials are ordered. So there is a sacrifice there, right? Like, but if you identify something that gives you purpose, that's worth sacrificing things for. Like in my life, there's been a lot of opportunities that have come across my table And I always find myself starting with, what am I going to sacrifice to take this opportunity on? Like, oh, hey, there's a 20 house unit in Whitehorse that we need you to build. It's like, okay, that's going to be a year project, let's just say, maybe 8 months to a year. Um, okay, well, I'm not going to be, probably not going to be going on, working out of town, or I'm probably not going to be going hunting because I'll need to be active. Because not only do I have that, I have several other projects, right? So it's like, if I take on this project, I'm going to have to be fixated on this for the next 8 months, so that we're hitting our deadlines, and that we're able to achieve these things and be available, and dedicating the stress and this and the stuff that comes with it. So, okay, so is it worth it to me? Well, that 20 units is for my First Nation, and they've talked about building these 20 units for the last 25 years. So that's something worth sacrificing for me. So it's like, yeah, I'll do that, and I'll put up with all the stuff that comes with that. Uh, and it's worth saying, I'm not going hunting this year, or I'm not going to go on a trip this year, because I have to focus. I want to make sure this is done correctly, and we're doing it. And so it's about finding those things. So whatever it is, whether you're an artist and you're starting that up, and you got to work on your craft and you got to practice all the time, or whether you're, whether you're in any kind of field that you're in, to say, okay, well, I need to be able to dedicate my life to this, and I need to justify that the purpose is great enough to make whatever sacrifices come with that decision. And then the cool thing about that is that it changes you from suffering your life, like, oh my God, I got to deal with this again, and there's another customer. It's like, to saying, hey, I'm choosing to do this, so I'm taking everything that comes with it, and now you're not suffering. You're thriving in it. And it's not that, like I tell my guys, sometimes we're gonna have to shovel shit. Sorry for swearing, but sometimes you're gonna have to shovel shit, and it's, nobody wants to shovel shit. Nobody gets up and says, hey, I want to shovel shit today. It's like, but if you're in there and I'm in there with you, and we're doing it together, and you see it on my boots, you start laughing at me, and I laugh at you because I'm looking at yours. Now we're laughing and we get this done. Now we've finished the job. We're not complaining about it. It's done, and we've laughed at each other. So we kind of enjoyed ourselves, which is a little bit weird. So you can actually enjoy that. When I say suffering, you can actually enjoy that process because you're engaged in it. You're not dragging your feet. You're accepting everything that kind of comes with that, and all those choices. So it's just a mentality, and really, that's what it comes down to. I am not the best carpenter, but I run a construction company that has 40 plus workers in it. I have people that are masters in their fields, construction management and carpentry, and operations, and they all work for me, not because I know more than them. It's because I'm really passionate about what I do. I support them, and I also am a hard worker. I've built this sort of on my back, in that fixated thing. There was a time where my kids started getting older, and it was just like, it was my kids and work and nothing else, no relationships, no nothing. And a lot of people, they questioned why I would do something like that, and it was because I had that purpose. And sometimes it's hard to explain that to people around you. It's like, everybody around you is going out to a party or something, and you're like, no, I'm going to bed. I'm getting up at 5:30. I'm going to go to the gym, and then I got to do this job, right? Like, um, and they're like, oh, that sounds boring, or that sounds lame. And it's like, yeah, well, I get that, but the reward on the other side is so amazing that I'm going to dedicate my life to this. And we don't know how much time we have on this world. So when you pick something that's worth moving towards, and you move towards it, you're going to lose people in your life. You're going to miss out on things, but you will gain on the other side of that so much opportunity. And then once you actually start achieving these things, it's like, you might just think, well, I'm going to start a hair salon, right? I'm going to be a hairstylist. I'm going to get this one shop. You might get to a point where you have several shops, and they're all over the cape. Everybody's talking about how amazing it is because they're so passionate. They love the conversation. They love the energy when they come into the salon, and it's amazing. And that's the kind of stuff that you don't know what you're capable of. And that's one of the coolest things. So that's about finding and engaging and being interested in your own life, and then trying to cultivate something that is worth you sacrificing other things for. in order to achieve something that's justified to you. So, and then at that time, I think that, like it's a lot of people, when I talk to them about passion and about what they're, a lot of people talk about purpose and stuff like that, but it's kind of the same thing. Purpose and passion can be the same thing. And they say, well, I don't know what it is. I don't know what I want. So what I try to say is, do you want to know? Like, are you interested in knowing what you're passionate about? What your purpose could be? And I haven't had one single person say, no, I'm not interested. Like everybody's like, yes, I'm interested. So even, we all know those people that are just negative, everything. They could have won $100 and like, great, now I gotta, share this money with my, whatever, right? They complain about everything. And so it's like, okay, cool. You want to know what you're passionate about and what your purpose is? Write down everything you hate. And a person like that will just write, they'll write a book. And I said, draw a line on a page right in the center, and on this side, write everything that you hate. And they're just going, right? Going at it. This is what I don't like about my job. This is what I don't like about my life. And cool. Now write the opposite of that on the other page. And so it's easy to write the opposite of things sometimes, right? Like, so, like you look, I don't like working inside. So you like outdoors. Cool. I don't like dealing with customers. Oh, so you want to be working more in a solo space. Cool. So, and then you start identifying these things that are indicators of what you would be naturally good at. And so then it gives you that light post. It gives you that purpose to say, okay, this isn't as hard as we make it out to be. It's like, if you know what you don't like, you actually do know what you like. And if you, so it, those little tricks like that kind of make it simple to suss out and dig up the seeds so you can replant them in better soils. So, and the cool thing about this kind of this culture that I'm talking about, it's nothing new. Like, especially with, like, I'm First Nations, I'm Southern Shoshone, I'm English, I'm Irish, and I'm German. So, but I definitely identify more with my Southern Shoshone heritage. I live in my country, so surrounded by my people. So, and in our life, it was community. There was no, there, we were together. There was purpose, right? Like, we're not reinventing. What I'm talking about is just filtered through me listening to elders over the years and using that in a business sense to try to cultivate community and connection. And it's the same thing. So I'm offering work that meets you where you're at, so that you can live your life. But I expect you to bring value. Everybody has a role in our community, and by bringing that value, you have way more opportunity, and it's easier. So it's not like the Zeus on the mountain thing where there's one boss, and that boss is controlling every element of that company. It's no, we're a team, we're a community, and we're cultivating that. And it's simple. Our ancestors did that for thousands and thousands of years, and it was working. We were in harmony with everything. And for the last 100 years, or some, like up in the north, it's a little less. Like the residential schools here, the last one closed only, like, I think it was like 15 years ago. It wasn't long. Like, you know what I mean? So we actually got the end of it. But, for the last 100 years, it's been really hard on our people, and we've been convinced to put that aside. And now I'm saying, like, it's time to pick that up and integrate it in our governments, in our businesses, and try to do it in a way that is congruent with this time, right? And so it's, we don't, that's what inspires me. It's nothing like, it's nothing new. It's just cultivating what was there and what was basically left for us by our ancestors, and just basically not converting it, but just allowing that to show up in today's world, and come out in those sort of ways. And it definitely, it helps a lot too when you're dealing, like, when you're in business. I'm not too sure how many people that are here today are in business, but there's hard things to go through, and a lot of the times you do feel alone. And that if you're the boss, you're wearing everything. You're wearing all of it. It's all on you. So whoever, it's Les's company, Les did this and they didn't do that, or whatever, right? So it's a heck of a lot easier when it's not just you. when you're like, it's a community of people, and we're all going to support each other no matter what comes up. Sometimes people make mistakes. We'll do our best to make sure that to fix that mistake, and that way it's not like you have to wear everything. And we never did that to our people. We looked at everybody that and we appreciated the value that they brought. So I definitely, like, I think that it's a simple thing, and I think a lot of people have been talking about it for a lot of the time. And I also think that we need to cultivate it our through our citizens. So, like, you you can't really cultivate that through a government. The government can support that through funding and things that and programs that they do, but it can't come from government. It has to come from the people. And when it comes from the people, it sticks. When it comes from the government, it's like top down kind of thing. And when we're talking about culture, culture resonates from a people, from a community. So that's why we need to motivate our businesses to have that mentality, and it will get you through the hard times. Like, it'll get you through when other people in the community see the consistency that you're providing for them. They're going to want to come work for you, because buddy over here doesn't care about them. Hey, you're late, you're fired. It's your daughter's birthday, I don't care, get to work, we got to get this done. Right? Like, that's the mentality that I kind of came up with when I was in the industry. So it's about cultivating something different, and by doing that, you're going to attract people that really want that in their life. And what I find nowadays is, like, we'll go through employees, we'll hire new employees, and this isn't for everybody. Like, there are people out there that don't care about you, and they don't care about the people that they're working for, and they just care about the money that they're going to get, and because they have their own life. And I'm not saying that everybody should be connected and together. I mean, in my ideal world it would work, but I mean, I know that some people aren't interested in that. They just want to make money and go on vacations and make money and pay their bills. That's fine. But we can coexist with on common ground when you have a good, strong structure. And so, but what I find is a lot of people that come across, like, they don't want to get engaged more than just the work. Like, they don't want to talk about purpose or talk about, connection and things like that. Eventually, if they stick around, they drink the Kool-Aid and they love being a part of the team, and they start talking about feelings and connection and purpose. And I think that we're all fundamentally attracted to that kind of stuff. And like I said, it's so much for me. It's just so much better to come into work and feel like I'm serving something greater than myself, opposed to coming into work just to make my money and pay my bills. That those are two polar opposites to me. I mean, I think that it can be pretty depressing if you're just going after something for the sole source of money. Um, but like I said, I'm kind of I have a higher perspective of things too. So I think that it is kind of peaceful as well to just be coming in to go to work and go home and with your family too. So I'm not trying to judge that, but it's yeah, it's definitely something that it's nice to, like I said, so that more different personalities can work together. You're creating the stability which will attract high level employees, and then you can provide some of that service to greater a number of people. And eventually, I think there's a tipping point with business where you don't have to look for the jobs. Like, there was a time a few years ago where I realized I'm not going out and chasing work. I just have to, the work comes to me now. And so, because people actually, oh, I know the person you got to talk to, this is the person. And most of the people that have done that are people that I've engaged with on a deeper level. Right? Like, I'm building Michelle an addition, and she wants a nice entertainment room. And so then I'm like, oh, okay, well, why don't we do it on a two level where the back seats are higher than the front? And you're like, oh my God, that's awesome. And okay, well, I'm also thinking maybe we'll have a power cable here, because then you can have a little fridge you can put. Oh no, my God, that's so cool. And so then I leave away, make like meeting you where you're at and learning about your life and adding value into your life. And yeah, we made some money on the side too, but I've also saved you money by changing some of your plans maybe too, right? So then I have I have a huge connection that I have right now. And every time I see you, you're smiling. It's like, I love that place that you built for me. Um, and being engaged is I think what is part of everybody's purpose is learning how to cultivate relationships and understand other people's perspectives and feeling like you add value to a situation is one of the greatest things, one of the greatest feelings that you can have when you can do that. And in my belief, every single person has value, and it doesn't matter where you're from. It doesn't matter what your beliefs are. It doesn't matter what your abilities are. If you're in a wheelchair, we'll come around here and we'll tell some stories, or maybe we can set something up, or here we can figure something out for you to do where we can cultivate a value that you have, and we can, and with the right mindset, you can basically find anybody's value. It's, I'll tell you another story. I'm good at telling stories. I'm trying to keep track of the time. So so a young man, I had a friend of mine said, hey, can you hire my son? And he's like, yeah, he's been through a bit of trouble, and he's kind of, and I said, I'm going to stop you right there. I said, I'll definitely hire your son. You're almost like family to me. In fact, like you're like a brother to me. So I will hire him. And I don't need to know the stories, but thanks. I said, tell him to show up. So he shows up, and the young man is kind of like Eeyore, on Winnie the Pooh. Where he's like, okay, what am I doing today? Blah blah. And this, I could tell like I didn't know how to feel him out, right? And so I'm like, okay, I see this one, and I'm just watching him at first. I don't want to intimidate him. I want to get to know him. He doesn't know me. Like I'm a light skinned First Nation, so I'm very cautious around how I interact with people too, and so eventually, after a few weeks, I go up to him and I'm like, hey, how's it going? You've been here for a few weeks. Is there anything that you like? Is there anything that you're interested in? And he's kind of like, well, or no, this is what I said. I said, why are you here? That's the first question I asked him. And he's like, well, what do you mean? And I said, well, why are you working for us? Like, why are you here? And he's like, well, I'm broke and I need money. He's like, to tell you the truth, I just like playing video games, but I'm broke and I need money. And I'm like, okay. I say, I'll stop you right there. I said, if you want money, if you come into work, I will put money in your pocket. Okay, that's an agreement we have now. Traditionally, if I ever said that to one of my bosses, they'd probably fire me on the spot, right? But I said, look, I see value here. You need money, and I got work. We've got a relationship now. So I waited about another month. Then I went back to him and I said, okay, you've been here for another month now. And is there anything that you like doing? Is there anything that you're interested in? The siding. Are you interested in flooring, framing, roofing? What do you like? Concrete? Like, he's like, I don't know. And I said, what about running that bobcat? And he kind of piques his interest. And I'm like, the funny thing about running a bobcat is it's like playing a video game. I said I was in it when I was younger, and it felt like I was in a live action video game. It was so cool. And I left it. I left it with him, and I could see that his wheels were just spinning. So a couple of days later, he comes up to me and he's like, were you serious? Would you train me on the equipment? And I said, if you commit to me and you commit to this company, I will train you on every piece of equipment that I own. I said, but I need you to commit to me. He shook my hand, and the next day he was in a bobcat. To this day, the guy has a smile from ear to ear running a bobcat, right? And all I did was I built a relationship with him. I tried to identify what his values were, because sometimes we can't see our own values. We can't see our own purpose and our own interests. And I provided an opportunity to him. Now, he could have just as well not took the opportunity, because some people aren't ready for it. But for whatever reason in his life, he felt supported enough, and I wasn't pressuring him. And he was interested enough in what I was offering him to say, yeah, I'll dedicate my life to this. He's still working. And in fact, he's working out at a camp like 10 or like 11 or 12-hour days out at a camp. And like I said, when he first showed up, his energy was low. He was dragging his feet and kind of like the Eeyore type of attitude. And so anyway, it's just one of those success stories. That's one of many stories that we have where we take the time. I can't be there for everybody like that, but you cultivate a crew that supports each other, and they start doing exactly what I'm talking about, because I'm offering it. I started by offering it to them, and now they have a place where they can offer it to other people and feel supported in that. And it's not just what are you talking over there for? You got to get to work right now. Like obviously, I trust that they're interacting in a good way. That's they're addressing something. I'm not trying to question that kind of stuff. So I think that's probably a lot. I don't know if we want to go to questions. I know we got about 20 minutes left, but like that's it. It's not overly complicated. You do not have to be a master at your craft, but I will encourage you to find something that you're passionate about. Find something that you can get passionate about, right? Like, like you might not like whatever it is, building decks, but you might get passionate about the opportunities that and the finances that debt brings into you, so you can be excited about that, and then you can attach like other things to it, like, hey, I'm building this deck that people are going to have, they're going to have barbecues on, they're going to have so much fun, and then when you see the positive support through your customers saying, oh my god, thank you very much, that reinforces that. And you can find purpose in things like, I over the years I've worked in many different industries, including McDonald's, and like when I was younger, and but I always found value in things by just having those personal connections, and it just uplifted my day. When somebody's coming in and they're an elder, and you look them in the eye and you make that connection, and it doesn't matter that I'm working at McDonald's, it doesn't matter that I'm selling coffees, it just matters that I'm in this moment and we've connected, and that elder gave me a smile, and you know what I mean, and she's walking away a little happier. um, so don't focus on the trees, focus on the path, and cultivate the things that you want to move towards, and the people that are in the having holding the energy that you're attracted to. Hang out with them, do whatever you can to to go to that space, so that you can also cultivate it in yourself, and then it becomes your natural state of being. And like I said, you'll be very surprised on what you can achieve.
Wow. I'm like inspired. I'm so inspired. It is no wonder why you are a recipient of one of Cando's awards. Not only are you building in your own community and you're creating opportunity, but you're also building those good relations. And we as a people, I think at the end of the day, that's what it's about. Creator had made us to be relational. So it's important to have those connections. And so I just really honor the story that you brought today. So much inspiration, so much goodness. I just want to open it up, for any of you to bring in any questions for Les or even comments. Man, I'm blown away. So the floor is open. Say if you don't want to, you can put it in the chat box as well. Comment, question for today's guest speaker. So it's Les Walker from your business is Walker Home Construction. Getting your name out there. I love it. I think you just wowed us, Les. You wowed us. I think there was three things. I think when you first started, you're like, I'm not here to give advice, but you brought three pieces, right? You talked about having common sense, and that goes a long way. Just have common sense, good work ethic. And I think you spoke really great on this about having passion and purpose. And that even took I took that, I wrote it down in big words, even for myself as I look at my business. Remember your why. And I just love that. And I think that's so important to revisit that every once in a while, because sometimes we get caught up in the paperwork. We get caught up in the mundane. Sometimes we lose sight of why we're here. And at the end of the day, it's for that community. It's for the people. Wow. So I feel really inspired. So thank you so much. It doesn't seem like there's any questions or comments. Or Ken, were you coming in?
Yes, I was. I was just starting to write. This is the first day of November. So, and out of your, it's a comment. It's not a question. So what I took out of your what you were saying was the ability to say no, but you have to struggle with that. You have to suffer it, and I really appreciate knowing what you don't like. being able to say no, but knowing what you don't like, but then drawing the line and then saying, okay, well, I know what I don't like, but why don't I flip that over and what do I like by reflecting on what. So yeah, no, I really appreciate that. And like I say, I just heard that this is the first day of November, so learn how to say no and suffer through what you don't. And you know what? A lot of times you're afraid to say no because you say, well, I don't want to be negative, but you can say no and then say, no, I'm not interested in that. I don't want to do that. But on the other hand, draw that line, flip over on the other side, said, I'll meet you halfway. I'm interested in doing thus and so, but so yeah, no, that's what I took out of it. So appreciate you sharing.
No, that's true. I think it's important to know what you're passionate about, and even what you're attracted to. It's really important to do that, because if not, then you're being led through something. You're not actually making the choice. And when you get to a point where you're like, yeah, I'm going to do this, and it's going to be hard, and there's going to be days where I it's harder than other days, but I'm choosing to do this. It's like I'm choosing to be a part of this, and that power of choice is so amazing. And what you're able to achieve and what it reinforces in you, it's really good. So I got another story, and it's about the human body. It's just, so the human body has this, that the brain has this thing called the hypothalamus, and the hypothalamus is basically like a factory, and it produces like hormones, and these hormones are basically the physical manifestation of your emotions. And so if you're in a frustrated state a lot of the time, well, this factory is creating a hormone that represents frustration. And then your body will then, so what it does is it travels to your cells, and your cells have these receptors. And so it'll travel to the cells, and it'll go into the receptor of the cell. And so it's basically physically changing your body based on your emotions. And when that cell splits into two, it'll have more receptors for whatever emotions you're feeling. So your literally body is changing to suit your mental state. And so it's like a lot of the times when you have a background where you're negative all the time and you can't understand why you're not getting out of it, it's because the hypothalamus is the factory of whatever emotion's been driving you. So a lot of us come through trauma and pain, and our hypothalamus is like great at creating trauma stuff and pain stuff, and it almost feels more comfortable to be in trauma because your whole system functions better. The whole system is going good. So it's about, you really have to spend the time in the twilight zone, as I call it, to really engage into your own life, to believe that that you can create good things, and that good things will come. So then your body and everything will change with that. It's really interesting what the human body can do, what the human spirit can do, but the body itself is super interesting, of how it's a vessel that is unbiased. You put in junk, it'll push out junk. You put in goodness, it'll push out goodness. You're happy, it'll reflect happy. And that's really inspiring to me. And that to me is saying, I'm not focused on what's wrong with me right now. I'm focused on that I see paths out of here, and a light, a glimmer of opportunity will guide you through the hell that you have to go through to get to that. And I think that that's what this is about in life. It's not about saying you have to do this or do that. I'll come back to what I said about opportunity and making a choice. There's been opportunities that have come to the table that we've said no, because I'm not willing to sacrifice what it takes to take on that opportunity. And and based on money, it's like, what, this is a major money and this is a major, it's like, no, that I don't want that opportunity. It's not feeling right for me. Or I don't want to sacrifice these other opportunities that I have in order to take this one opportunity. So, and it's a nice place to be. When I started, I was taking every single opportunity, whether it was a good one or a bad one, just because I had to make money. I had to feed my kids. And but it's the consistency that'll get you to the point where more opportunities are presented to you, and then you get to a place where you can make that choice. But like I said, there was a lot of, at the beginning, there was a lot of long days, 14 hours, 16-hour days, sometimes, right? And it was just fixated on trying to create something So there is that twilight zone that I say, you're going to be alone. You're going to feel like that. And the more you can start with purpose and focus on that, the greater your chance of success is going to be through anything that you choose to do. And just because somebody gives you an opportunity does not mean you have to take it. Like you can say, hey, I like fishing, I like going for, I like camping on the weekends. I'm not going to take this. I'm going to be working 7 days a week, 10 hours a day. I don't want to do that. And so I will sacrifice that opportunity in order for a life that's more congruent. And you're going to be way happier like that anyway. And it'll create, I believe that it'll put you in the right space to cultivate other different opportunities that are in line with what you want in your life.
Awesome. Ken, thank you for coming on and reminding us about November and the sacrifice. But also, I was sitting with some grandmothers, some cookum, some matriarchs a couple of weekends ago, and they talked exactly about discipline, what you were referring to, and how that's important and integral in our lives, personal lives, but also our businesses. If we want to see that success, if we want to see our communities prosper, right? The discipline aspect is so important. So I feel like that's that whole piece about sacrifice and having the ability to say, no, I'm going to not go to that party because I have to get up early in the morning. So all of it, all that you shared today, Les, was like really great. So thank you so much for the inspiration that you brought to today's webinar. So thank you all for joining. One last question. We can open it up. Come on in. We got 5 minutes, but if not, no problem. I know you're going to walk away with your cup full, that you feel that fire that will push you to where you need to be. One other thing the elder said is like 99% of the time, we know what we need to do. We know what action needs to. It's just up to us to go and do it. So you lit that fire for us today, Les. Thank you so much. And thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Cando Links to Learning, for this incredible opportunity to learn, to be inspired, to grow and build our capacity. And I hope you have a good rest of the day. And hopefully we'll see you again soon. So thank you for being with us. Take care.
Thanks. See you guys.